call this work session of the Greenville City Council on May the 10th to order. And we have items to be discussed, a $50 million street bond update. Press, would you come forward and discuss that with us?
Is that better? Good. All right, what I'm going to give tonight is a quick update on our $50 million bond issue. All right, Carroll, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Okay. What I'm going to show you now is some of the work that we have completed to date. We've done Gabe Estates, which was a mill and overlay. We completely milled everything out. Some of it was edge milling, and then we relayed it completely. We did fix some of the curbs in that area, but you can see Gabe Estates turned out very well. The rideability is excellent. Same thing with the Cedars. We went there and did a complete mill and overlay of that. Did fix some of the drainage, some of the valley gutters, stuff like that. But same thing, it turned out very well, very good rideability. I think all the residents in that area are extremely pleased with it. Carroll Drive, we did a complete rebuild of this. We put in new water, new sewer, new drainage, tore the road up completely, rebuilt it. We did all, you can see the drainage on the left-hand side where the trailer park is. We fixed all that drainage, all the driveway entrances to it, and it really looks good now. I think a little bit of cleanup out there right now, and then that'll be completely done. Roy Warren, we added to the bond issue from Jackson's Run all the way to Traders. That is now completely finished as a 4-lane concrete section. So we have all of Roy Warren now is complete concrete. Rideability is excellent on it. And drainage is working. We got some drainage issues fixed on it also. So that's completed. Also we did, which was the Wesley Street intersections. We've now completed 16 of them. And that was the worst ones. We still have a few more to go, but I think the vast majority of them fixed. I think everybody can see the difference of all the entrances getting in and out off of Wesley. It works a lot better, and like I said, I think everybody's well pleased with those intersection improvements. Now we got a lot of streets under construction right now. Y'all's phone probably rings off the hook about this, but it is what it is. La Fontaine we're doing, that's new curb and gutter there. We're tearing that up and fixing that area. It had a pretty low PCI on it, and it needed to be done in that area. So that's ongoing right now. Stanford Street, everybody knows we have that torn up from one end to the other, but we've got all the water and sewer replaced now. The drainage in the streets have already started. Down by the school, we've already been able to pour 1 lane of new concrete in there, and probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be switching traffic over so we can pour the other lanes as we do the other end of it. So it's looking at, and Stanford is actually going to be widened a few feet, so, and they'll have sidewalks on the side of it, so it'll really turn out to be a nice thoroughfare road for us. These are other roads we have under construction: Lorraine, Pickett, Spencer, Timilton, Walnut, we're just starting on, Washington and Wilton. All these are under construction with new water, new sewer, new drainage, and then a whole new roadway. So all that's under construction right now. So we got a lot of the city torn up. Right now, we started with the $50 million. We have already completed $9.5 million roughly. We got $13.2 million under contract right now. We have under construction. We have other roads we're getting ready to let here probably in the next week or two or even sooner to get started on those. So we're on target. We're right around $24 million in the first year, and our goal was to spend the $50 million in 2 years. So I feel very good, very comfortable where we're at and the progress we're making on it. And I feel very confident we'll make our goal of having it completed in the 2-year period. And if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you.
I do have a comment, Press. Of course, I live in Gabe Estates, so I was very happy. But remember, I questioned you why we were doing Gabe Estates, and you gave me a great explanation why. To save money in the long run. It wasn't that bad, but it saved us money by doing that when we did it.
That's true, and that's kind of a fallacy people have. Paved roads need maintenance. And when you get down to almost the end of your service life, if you can correct it or catch it before it falls off that curve, you can get it done a lot cheaper. I mean, we did Gabe Estates by doing milling and overlaying. If I waited another 3 or 4 years, I probably would have had to rebuild, base prep, everything else. So you're correct. It does save us a lot of money. So if you have a pavement management program where you're catching things when the PCI is not down in the 30s or 40s, then you can extend the life of your roads another 15 or 20 years or longer by doing it at that stage. And that's hard for people to understand,
Yes.
because everybody thinks paved road will last forever. It doesn't.
Well, I shared your story with many neighbors, trust me, and they're very, very happy with the results there in the neighborhood. And I also got a lot of calls from people that live on Carroll Drive. I remember sending some emails back and forth to you, and you gave me really good solid dates and promised dates, and they worked out. So thank you for that, and they're very happy on Carroll Drive as well.
We are too. Carroll Drive really turned out good.
Yeah, it did.
From what
They
we
did.
started with to what we ended up with, it's remarkable.
Thanks for the hard work.
Any other questions? I have a question. I wondered if you could provide a summary, maybe at the next meeting, or just email us a summary of the total number of miles of mill and overlay and connector streets and potholes and that sort of thing. I guess we get that on a regular basis, but I'd like to see that
Yes, sir.
kind of as a status, since we're about halfway through this program.
We could definitely do that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Next thing, where we are with regard to council goals and objectives. Summer?
We'll wait for Carol. As we wait for the project update, so what we normally do, this is kind of the first, I guess, kickoff for the budget process. After today, next work sessions, you'll start seeing the departments come up and give you guys an updates on what they've requested, where they've been, the accomplishments they've had with the budget that you guys have currently given them. So currently we're a little over 6 months through the budget year, so I'd like to give you guys an update on council goals, where we've been, what we've been up to, and things like that. So it's going to be, I think there's about 30 or 40 slides that we'll go through. Some of them are pictures, other ones we can have questions. Just ask questions along the way, kind of give you just a short update. Here's what was in the budget, here's where we're at now, kind of completion, and that kind of thing. So we'll get started on that, and then just each department will come up systematically and kind of give their deal of it, and then you guys can go through that process. And then the second piece of this will be, which is in your packet, so hopefully you guys can look at those. I don't expect any expectations about the goals for next budget year, but there's some suggestions in there that are in red and some new suggestions that are in yellow that you guys can, so I really just want you guys to start thinking about that, and this kind of give you an idea, and you guys have all this in your packet to be able to know where to go from here. So obviously Press just gave you the first update on the street bond, so just some additional, he talked about the intersections, Stanford Street, Carroll Drive, and then Gabe Estates. So he just kind of gave you that. So if you look at it, 19% of progress has been completed. I won't go over anything else. Obviously that fits with goal number 1, which is build infrastructure that lasts. The Sales Street reconstruction, the cost of that is a little over $10 million, obviously along the lines with goal number 1. That's about 85% complete. There's still some few tie-ins and things like that they're finishing up. You guys approved that back in 2020, almost 2 years ago, seems like. Actually, it was over 2 years ago, and just completing that project. But I don't know if you've driven down Sale or not, but it drives really well constructed. So I think through all the aches and pains of the residents that live there, I think eventually they'll be happy with it. So I think the next thing we'll just have to concentrate on, obviously, is the speeding and people going a little bit faster, since there's not enough potholes to slow them down. So that'll be the next area of focus for us. Roy Warren expansion, you'll see the roadway portion. Obviously, it's 100% design. The roadway portion you guys approved at the last, I apologize, on the April 12th meeting. The sewer portion is going to be on for the agenda tonight. $4.5 million we sold in a bond package, which the voters approved in 2020, and then the remainder of the cost, which is a little over $6 million, will be funded from the proceeds from the sale of the sale of our water back to Sabine River Authority. We sold that for a little over $13 million. So obviously that fits into two different goals: build infrastructure that lasts, and then we're trying to prepare the city for flexible and sustainable growth down in that area. And just that picture right up there is all the open acreage that'll, once Roy Warren is developed, will most likely be developed by residential developments. So we've already had people asking about those.
Will any of the impact fees, as these things develop, be returned to the water fund to backfill what we're spending
Yes.
on the expansion?
Yep, all of that. And I don't know if you'll remember when Latour did a presentation on the Roy Warren expansion, she figured in those impact fees, and it was quite a bit. So yes, it will be put back in there, definitely. And all these will be subject to impact fees.
Thanks.
Drainage improvements, this year before, this budget year, we put in about $175,000, so we were able to do a few little projects with that. Thankfully, you guys increased that to $300,000, and so our crews have just been continue to do the smaller projects that maybe, the $50,000 here, or $20,000 here, or $30,000 here, to just continually improve the drainage around the city, which we still have a lot of work to do, but definitely being able to put this in as not only as a fix, but also as a maintenance has been very helpful. And also, you guys also improved $250,000 for valley gutters and sidewalk improvements. So you'll see a few things, the valley gutters there on the left, some sidewalk improvements there on the right-hand side, and then they've used all of that 100%. So that's also helpful as a continual maintenance throughout town. And we still have a ways to go. I mean, we're not quite there yet, so it is very helpful to have that in the budget every year. General pothole and street repairs, you guys get a monthly update on that. So that's the chart you'll see at the top there. I just pulled that off of our last chart that we've got. But there's some of pictures of our in-house guys working on those smaller potholes, maybe not the big ones. Looks like they have about $258,000 left for the year. So 41% of progress is completed on that. So this doesn't include the contractors. This is just the in-house that our crews take care of. Bowie Circle drainage, we were able to thankfully budget $1.2 million for that. The top picture is actually the whole entire project, which is obviously more than $1.2 million, but that's the beginning of it. So we've got about $918,000 left. 23% of that progress is completed on that. So hopefully we'll continue to make progress on that and get that drainage from behind Bowie School and that taken care of and in a better spot than it normally does. So, and it includes a retention pond and a few other bridges. We were able to fix the bridge, and that's where most of the costs went initially, and so we're just continuing with that project. We were able to purchase a jetter trailer for the streets. Total cost was around $73,000. The PO has been issued, but it has not been delivered yet. A lot of our stuff you'll see on here, we've ordered it, and the PO has been issued, but we're just waiting on delivery. That's a lot of what we're dealing with at this point. We'll talk a little bit about it when we get to the enterprise as well. The Southside Water Treatment Plant. So we estimate that cost will be between 30 and 40 million. Obviously, we're going to improve aging water infrastructure, and we've been regularly meeting with the subcommittee, which includes Mayor Ransom, Al Adkins, and Tim Cruz. So we're continually meeting with them, and we're in that planning phase. You guys just approved Cobb Finley a couple of meetings ago. That's going to help us with the right-of-ways and the easements for the raw water line, for the water treatment plant, and those anything else that we need help with from a legal standpoint. And so they'll be helping us with that to decide that. So hopefully this project will start moving a little bit faster. Obviously, that's a big price tag, so we've got some more planning to do to figure out how we're going to fund that, which we can. We were able to put a water rate study in the budget for this year, so we're going to get the results of that pretty soon that we'll bring forward to you. So we're working on that, so all of that's going to fall into place. We still have quite a bit of demand from our neighboring cities that are wanting water yesterday, and so there'll be a couple of contracts that we'll have to up in the next couple of years, and so we need to plan for those kind of things. And that doesn't, well, obviously, we're planning for our own growth within our city. You guys get an update about where we're at on that, so that's very important that we plan. You know, we're not just talking, 5 years down the road. We're talking 10, 12, 20 years, 30, 40 years down the road to be able to plan for water infrastructure. Whoever decided to plan and put the reservoirs where they did, thank goodness they did, because they've saved our butts several different times. Not only during the drought, but during the freeze. They were very helpful because we were able to pull water straight from our reservoirs, and so they really, really saved our butts. So whoever did that, I would like to thank them for that. So saved us a lot of sleepless nights. The raw water line, you guys get an update on that. We're at budget of $50 million on that. Design is at about 15%. Obviously, we hired the consultant on 412. And then also, you guys allowed us to pre-purchase 5 miles of pipe on 322. Press and his crew are still continuing to work to get the remainder of the 15 miles of pipe that we need to get that taken care of. So hopefully we can get that. I mean, obviously, the 5 miles that we purchased, we won't get it till 2023. And so I think it's just going to be a process just with the way the supply chain and everything is going on right now. So we'll keep working at it and keep pushing through. Uh-huh.
Just at a really high level, when would we think that would be done? All of it?
The whole raw water line?
Yeah. Not looking for a date, just like...
A year?
Yeah. Yeah, a year. So end of 24 maybe? Beginning of 25, something like that? Okay. Yeah, understood. Okay, thanks.
And then we do also have to consider the easements, and those take time legally. So no, not quite 18 months, but that will add some time to the project as well. Down at Lake Tawakoni Pump Station, we budgeted about $1.3 million for that. That's one of the pumps that we got in there. In the last meeting, I don't know if you guys remember, press brought forth for you some valves and things like that, and that was the last piece to complete the pump station repair. So that should be in good shape. We no longer have just one pump. We'll have 4 total pumps working down there, which is really great, because when you go down there, which I need to make a trip down there as well, but when it's out of sight, out of mind, we don't really maintain it and things like that. But going forward, we will, so we won't have to spend, big numbers like this every so years to replace things. We're going to maintain those and moving forward, but we're in good shape now down there. So, and we have some plans too to do some to further our channel in case any kind of drought, and that's in that planning phase with that water committee to continue to do that so that we don't run into any more troubles if we do run into a drought, which could happen. The water treatment plant filter rehabilitation. This was approved, thank goodness, the contractor was approved on April 12th by the City Council. This project has been in the works for a really long time. We had some issues with the engineer that we went back and forth with for too long. So the original cost, I think, of this project, I think, was about $8 million. So in that time frame, obviously inflation and supplies have gone up. And so it ended up being a little over $10 million, but thank goodness this will hopefully get, this project will get and rehab all 6 of our filters, which previously, before this project started, when I brought it to City Council in 2019, we only had 3 of our filters working. So this will help the efficiency of the water treatment plant. It won't necessarily increase capacity, but it'll definitely help the efficiency of it and what we can push through to our customers. And so that will be super, super helpful to get that finally taken care of, get everything rehabbed, and then we should be good for quite a while on that concrete. Sports pod shade structures, we were able to do the maroon field this year. The cost was a little bit higher than we anticipated. We took those costs from fund balance from the budget at $46,000, but turned out really good. Once we end up doing the shade structures, this is our 5th of 6 fields, so we'll bring forth to you next year. I believe it's Orange Field that we have left, the one field over closest to the fire station. Other than that, we should have all shade structures out there, new picnic tables, new trash cans, so it's really improved that. And it's also very helpful, too, when you're a parent sitting on the sideline, you have some kind of shade. So it is very helpful in that sense. And it'll also help in the tournaments that we can host as well. So that is also an upgrade. The Oak Creek Park Trail, budget $241,920. The engineering is complete on that, and it's going out to bid soon. So you guys will be seeing something coming forward to you guys pretty soon for that. And that's just a shot of where the Oak Creek Trail will go around the entire park. Grand Park parking lot, currently being engineered in-house, and we're preparing it to go out to bid as well, and we assumed back then, about a year ago, it'd be about $93,000. I don't know what it'll be. We'll see when the bids come in, and then we can go from there. But that will definitely improve that parking lot, which needs it. It's a highly used regional park, so we need to make sure that's good to go. Austin Park, I don't know if any of y'all have driven by there, but thankfully you guys budgeted $325 in the bond sale for that. Turned out really great. I think we have a few things that we're waiting on as far as painting of the basketball courts. The old storage building that PD was using, they stored some, like their a couple of vehicles and some evidence that was stored in there. We were able to tear that down, and initially Brett and his crew, they were going to have it demoed, but they decided to turn it into a pickleball court. So that's something new that you guys might not see that was on the original plan. So it was actually obviously a little bit cheaper for us to not demo the concrete, to just refinish it and turn it into a pickleball court. Pickleball has been a very high demand in the surveys that Brett and his guys send out, so it kind of worked out for everybody. It's not shaded yet, so we'll work on that next. That would be the next step into shading it. But Austin Park turned out really good. I think he is waiting on the sod and everything else to come in, and then the painting of the basket. They got the basketball goals up, I think, 2 weeks ago. So those are up, look really nice. And then they just finished painting the basketball courts at Sports Park. So the next one is going to be Austin Park. So hopefully, weather preventing, hopefully we can have it by the end of the year. So we're on a waiting list for that as well. But I see kids out there all the time playing on it. It's got a nice shade structure, a pavilion and thing that they can get underneath. So I think it turned out really good. So if you haven't driven by there, drive by there. I think it turned out really good. Out at the golf course, we were able to budget in a field aerator, a triplex mower, and a fairway unit. Total cost of all three of those is around $62,000. Once again, we're waiting on all delivery of all units. We were able to, on the triplex and the fairway unit, we were able to lease those. So that turns out good. So every 3 or 4 years we can get a new one, and we're not having to outlay too much money at the time. But it's worked out for all of our other mowers, and so this is just the next step in doing those. So it worked out as far as leasing. But the problem we're running into that is the same problem we had with the fire truck. We've got to get in line. As soon as those mowers come off the line, we have to be in line. So we almost have to issue a PO a year in advance and sign the lease. So, but we've been able to get in line with those and do that. So that's some of the lead times on those are just getting ridiculous. But yeah, we're just waiting on delivery on those. The downtown benches and solar lighting, we're able to budget $22,000 for goal number 3. Let's see, the downtown street furniture, Dole was able to purchase 2 little receptacles. To finish out the pedestrian islands, I don't know if you remember the ones that got destroyed by accidents, cars hit them. So we were able to revamp those and do some raised planters and things like that. And then another vehicle, thankfully, Press and his crew put up bollards, protected that. He hit the bollards and, of course, went across the street and destroyed a park. But we saved the new stuff, and that was right across from the spot. So we have 2 different places where you'll see the raised beds. Eventually, we want to do that with the whole entire downtown. So we'll keep working on that. And then the solar lights are planned for the north side of the 2400 block of Lee. after the Prairie Coffee Company completes their facade renovation. So that's formerly Muzzy's right in front of there, so that'll complete that block right across the street from, what am I thinking of? Max American Grill. So that'll complete that.
There was some grant money involved with the solar lighting too, wasn't there?
With the initial one, yes.
With the initial
Yeah, with the one that went, the picture right there with the one across, or from, in front of, the winery, yes. Yes, there was a grant involved in that one. It was like a $90,000 grant is what we did. But this one, we're just buying these outright ourselves. And so and I think that the solar lights were a part of the sidewalk grant. Now that that project's finished, then we'll apply for another sidewalk grant. Because you have to complete one 100% with all the punch lists and everything before you can apply for the next one. So Dole will apply in the next go-round. City entrance signs, we budgeted about $34,000 for that. Those are out for bid, and we're also waiting on TxDOT approval for those. Those will be the entrance signs at 69 and at 380. They were just outdated, so we were able to put that in there. So I think TxDOT said that since they were a little bit larger than a normal sign, that they went into the billboard category, so we're just waiting on approval from them. So Press and Brett are working on that with TxDOT, and they've been helpful so we're just waiting for approval. And then the downtown historical figures, we budgeted about $12,000. This was a couple years ago. COVID kind of put a damper on that project, and so we're kind of reassessing all the costs and all the locations for that. Kevin had started this project. He was hoping to finish it before he retired, but he retired on Saturday. And so, but this project will continue. So those were at the top, those are some of the figures that we originally were wanting to do in certain places downtown. So we're just reassessing all that. And then the bottom picture, you'll see that's something similar to what he wants to put into place with the metal silhouettes, I think is what they call them. So that was just an example so you guys could kind of see. The comprehensive plan, of course, we started that a couple years ago as well. The hard copy of the draft was provided to the P&Z on April 18th. The planning and zoning are just going to review it for approval on May 16th, and then it will become before you, City Council, for review for approval on May 24th. So you'll see that on the next meeting. The ADA compliant shelving in the library, cost actually was a lot cheaper. I think this is maybe one of our projects that the cost was a little bit cheaper. But $51,000, we budgeted for $67,000. It's 100% complete if you haven't been in there. You guys passed it on October 12th of 2021. Those are just some of the pictures. If you'll see those guys at the top there, those are the I guess tools or contraption that they use to move the shelves without having to take all the books off of them and do all that. So actually worked out really good. It looks really beautiful in there. It's a lot more open than it used to be, so it looks really nice. So Olivia did a good job on that project. And here's our fleet management program. We have in the budget about $382,000 total for the leasing price of it. We leased 19 in 1920, 36 in 2021, and then we only were able to lease 8 in 21, 22, which were strictly patrol cars, just due to the availability of any other kind of vehicles. That should change this year. We're getting on the list right now, because once they close a certain window, we can't order anything. So we're getting Enterprises working with us really good. Let's see, we're awaiting delivery of 7 of the Ford Explorer Interceptors. And we typically, with the police department, get Tahoes, but if they're unavailable, we just take what is available, which we've had Ford Interceptors in the past. So, I mean, they work good. They just like the Tahoes for space-wise, and also our maintenance crew likes the Tahoes. They're used to those. But we'll do what we can with what we've got. Some of the equipment that we've ordered to go on those cars has been received. Oh gosh, we're awaiting delivery of some F-250s for wastewater. From 2020, we received a it's just whatever you can get, you get. So we received a 2022 Ford F-250. So it's just kind of, and those are for water and wastewater, which we had already budgeted for. So if you look at the very bottom line, I know it gets a little wordy, but that will shift a total of 69 enterprise vehicles and 48 non-enterprise vehicles in service, hopefully by the end of fiscal year 21. So by the end of 22, hopefully we'll have some more in, so that'll shift some more over to that as well. And also on the fleet, I did want to tell you, this is going to be our 3rd year of it, so we'll be cycling some of those cars out and being able to resell them, which is right now in the car market, it's a really good time to resell those. So we're going to do really well on that. So I think going into it, we'll see a lot more benefits in the next year or two, just because we're going through that cycle now. And the car market, I mean, I don't know if anybody's looked at a used car, but you're going to pay a pretty good price for them. HVAC replacement between police and courts. We originally in the police and court budgeted $150,000. Due to the price of those HVAC systems at PD, we were going to get 2 of them. But because of the price and the cost, we were only able to get 1, because it went from, 2 of them at $150 to one of them at $120,000. So not really anything we could control, but police and courts is about 78% complete. At the Municipal Auditorium, we have some smaller units. Last budget year, we were able to replace all the big ones in the actual auditorium. So those were the big units that are about $150,000 a piece as well. So we got those replaced, but these are just the smaller. I don't know if you know, the Municipal Auditorium has 5 different roofs on it. So we've got all these different sections on the way it was built. So what we're going to do with the Municipal Auditorium is, obviously this is a good week to test out our systems. And so if anything, our maintenance guys see anything that's going to give out in the next couple months, especially during this hot time, then we'll replace those. If not, if we see those are holding up and they're in good shape, then we'll replace the older units first. And then we should be in actually really good shape from when we started this I guess it was like about 6 years ago now, of systematically replacing all the older units. And so we should be in good shape to just maintain those going forward. And just replace them if something catastrophic happens, which it does happen. So we remodeled, put in the budget to remodel the annex and the library restrooms. They were just out of date, dirty. The grout was just in terrible shape, and so we put in for those, just regular kind of maintenance. The annex is 100% complete. It costs about $9,000. Library, we're waiting some materials, but should be complete by the end of this month. So total together is about $30,000 that we've spent so far. And so we might have some room to upgrade a few other little things. That includes the floors, which we upgraded a few here at Civic Center a couple years ago. That includes the floors and the new partitions. If they need new urinals or they need new toilets or anything like that, just updating those buildings and making sure they're staying where they need to be. Municipal auditorium lighting, it should be complete by the end of June. Based on an updated quote we received, it's going to, cost increase to $28,000, so a little bit over. And this is the lighting. I don't know if you guys realize we have a parking lot in the back side that the GMA uses quite a bit and our facilities guys use. So that's where the lighting's going to be fixed. And then we're going to get that parking lot cleaned up because it's overgrown with some trees and things like that. The Symphony was the company that really used it quite a bit. They parked all their people back there. But we use it for all the different shows. And so we really just want to light that up and be able to use that out there because it's dark out there. And this is just our yearly computer monitor and server replacement and leases. 72 laptops and monitors, and then 4 servers that we lease. A couple years ago when COVID hit, you guys were able to allow us to purchase laptops for all of our folks so we're not stuck to desktops. And so, number 1, they can be taken home. Number 2, they can be taken in the field if they need to, and those kind of things. So those are a couple of the leases that we did there. Patrol also, we have their leases in there, which has been in the budget. So we'll continue that program. And then also our servers, instead of purchasing servers every 3 to 5 or 5 to 7 years, we also begin leasing those, and it just makes it a lot safer in keeping our equipment up to date. Fire truck pay-as-you-go, current balance of $900,000. If you guys back in January 11th, you guys approved us to be able to enter into a lease to purchase that. We typically purchase those with cash, but because of the supply chain and the lead times was a little bit longer. I think it went from about 12 months to 18 to 24 months to get a fire truck built. So you guys were able to do that. So the remainder of the budget, $250, will be continued to use to pay that lease. Once we pay that lease off, we'll continue to put that money in, which we'll be in good shape when we replace the platform truck. Then we'll be in good shape to be able to save for a couple other years to be able to. And then we'll also reassess it if it, you know, if our pay-as-you-go is not, number one, keeping up with the cost, then we'll reassess for the amount, or if we do just need to go to the leasing option. So we'll explore both of those. We'll sit down with Jeremy and his guys and make sure we're still on track with that. The public safety radio infrastructure, that original budget was 8.2, and that was to support public service, health, and safety. Those are some of the pictures. Those are the towers that hopefully we'll be replacing soon. The one on the left is at PD, and then the one on the right belongs to fire. Down there on the left is going to be our dispatch consoles that we're going to be replacing, and then that's all the hardware and software and all that good stuff that goes along with that project. So hopefully we'll be moving forward with that project pretty soon. The Emergency Operations Center budgeted at $8.9 million. Those are the renderings. Last meeting on 4/26, you guys selected an architect. Jeremy's we'll be bringing forward to you an agreement, hopefully on the location really soon. And so, but that's just the renderings that Jeremy and his guys came up with the training facility in the back, and then the EOC, and then eventually, you know, for future planning, all the dispatch will be in that building as well. So we're moving along with that project, thankfully. The command post vehicle that the PD budgeted for at $264,000. So it's about 35 to 40% complete. I think it's a custom build. And that building at the bottom is where it'll be stored, and that building is going to be placed right behind PD. I don't know if you've ever been back behind that PD where the fence line. They have some seized vehicles and things that sit back there now, but they have a not a concrete pad, but an asphalt pad back there that this building is going to go on, and we'll be able to store those kind of things in there. And that's due to the fact that they would have stored it at Austin Park, but we had to tear that building down to build Austin Park. So both of those projects are moving forward. You guys allowed us to replace flashlights, shotguns, and the sightings for the rifles, so you'll just see the flashlights are 100% complete. Shotgun replacement's 90% complete, and then the sighting for the TAC rifles is 100% complete. And then we're also transitioning pistols. That project is about 30 to 40% complete. And then the geo-validation model down at the bottom there helps with our GIS and anything else that the PD needs, and that's 100% complete. Animal control kennel replacements. You guys were able to replace 10 kennels at a budget of $12.9. Brandon, I think in the past year, replaced 7, then we moved it up to 10 because the costs were just increasing too much. So we said, hey, if we can do 10, let's do 10. So we'll put that in the budget next year. He has not been able to put these in yet. I don't know if you've been out there in a while, but he was able to redo the kennels in the cat room because of a donation that we received. So he's been working on that, and then once he kind of finishes that project, then he'll move on. And also he has to, you know, if he has to have empty kennels to replace them. So that's good. During this time of year, that's not really a high possibility because he replaces them 4 at a time. So 4 kennels, you know, in a section have to be empty for him to do that. So so he's coming in and doing that when he can. Fire station, the fitness equipment is 100% complete. The firehouse software, Jeremy has that installed. They're still working out some of the kinks, but that was taken care of, and so that's all up to date as well. The previous software that we had with the fire department was no longer supported, so we had to move to something different. So they have done that, and I think they're still operating off of both, but they're transitioning. So they're in that transition phase there. Majors Road expansion out at the airport, $1.3 million budget there. Total cost is $974 that's left, and then it's about 25% complete as far as the design. We are continuing to work with our lobbyist in Washington to be able to help fund some of that. So I think we actually have a call coming up this week or next week to continue to go up for that. We did not get it the first time, but we're going to keep trying to get some funding for that. So if we can get that, then obviously we can fund a different project. And then the general aviation airplane east parking ramp and the taxiway extension and the terminal signage. The terminal signage is done, so all that's taken care of, and that's up and that's new. That was at a little over 6,000. The 2 remaining, as far as the extension of the taxiway there on the left and then the east parking on the right, that is still in the design stage. So once we kind of move that, then we can do some more expansion plans and get the infrastructure settled. And we also are finishing up the drainage project that we're working with TxDOT out at the airport. So that'll help us move forward and be able to improve the airport a little bit more, because there's a lot of growth out there as well. And then I'll be happy to answer any question or take comments. I know it was a lot, but we were able to do a lot of projects this year, which is thankfully is good.
I say it was a busy year.
Yeah, it is. And
Appreciate
thankfully
all the hard
had the
work.
budget to do it, so that is very
That's the
helpful.
good part. That's right.
And when it's cheaper.
You're right.
When it's cheaper.
It ain't gonna get no better.
Accomplishments by you and your staff. It's really in meeting those goals are really impressive.
Very
Always.
impressive, very.
I sent them to you. Okay. She's going to pull up the goals just so you guys can see. It is in your packet, and if you need it, but it just had some additions that we kind of talked about, and these are just suggestions by us. By no means are we telling you what the goals should be, because those obviously are city council goals. And then once you guys establish those goals, then we as staff, we go back and then we structure our capital planning and our maintenance and operation based on meeting those goals. So this is just some suggestions that we'll offer, and some new things and things we've talked about during the year that maybe we've written down a few things that say, hey, you know, can we try to do this or try to do that? Some of the things we have not accomplished yet that are on those goals, so we left them on there. Some of the things we have accomplished, and so we crossed those out and that. So
the ones in yellow, what did you say they represent?
the ones in yellow are new ones.
Okay.
So the ones that are just in red on the right there are the ones that we've had in there, but we think that they should stay in there. Now you guys can take them out, whatever you want to do. These are just, so, you know, like let's just say for number 2, complete filter rehabilitation. You know, we're not quite done with that yet. It's been on there for a couple of years, but that's a part of that infrastructure, so we left it on there. Let's see, impact fees, reinstate impact fees. We got that taken care of, so we marked that off the list. And then these right down here in yellow are just our new ones. And so I wanted to highlight those, so if that's something you guys wanted to leave on there, if you wanted to take it off, that's just some suggestions that we've heard and that Carroll's has expressed to me, so we just left those on there. And like seek opportunities to benchmark performance against like organizations. That would be like our Library Excellences Awards that they get, our Budget Award, our Audit Award, just to see where we're at against everybody else. So those are kind of some things. Sustain a competitive, and also we kind of renamed some stuff. So the stuff that's in black is what was on there last year, and then this is what we're suggesting new and for this year. So when
I
you're
like
talking,
I like your new goal of infrastructure for greater sustainability. I was called out on Facebook for saying build infrastructure that lasts, because we all know no infrastructure lasts.
Correct.
So anyway,
just sustain it direct. Yeah, exactly. Maintain a competitive tax rate. I mean, you guys have done that, so we just put up here sustain a competitive tax rate. So I think you guys have done a good job on that. Let's see, complete comprehensive plan. Obviously, we're going to complete that in this budget year, so we took that off. So those are just some suggestions. And if there's anything else that you got, I mean, we're not held to 6. I mean, you can have as many or as few as you'd like. They're your goals for council. These are just some suggestions. Relocate Civil Air Patrol was one that we've heard talked about. They came and did a presentation, so we put that on there. Plan for additional hangars, which we're doing as well. And so just things like that. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and then have you guys start thinking about that, because we will, just so you understand, we do drive our budget process based on those goals. And so we would like to have them. I'm not asking you to approve anything tonight, by no means, but maybe in the next couple meetings we can approve something that, hey, these are our goals, let's move forward, and then we'll go from there. We can budget going forward from there, because we're already in that process and we've got meetings. But if we need to shift directions or shift things around, then we certainly can do that. Any questions on that? And then I think the second one in your packet is just a clean version of this. That's all it is.
yes, it is.
With everything added in there. So it's just a cleaner, you can actually see it so it doesn't look all marked up. So that's really all I have for goals as far as that goes. And like I said, I'll be happy to take any suggestions. You can email us, tell me, or anything like that that we need to add in there. So, I mean, they're your goals for council and what we need to accomplish in the next budget year. So anything that we can continue to do, that's what we're here.
So now we've covered item really B and C, and now you're going to talk about the tax rate and total taxable appraised value. Okay.
And obviously, tax rate, I did a short little presentation here just to kind of get also going in your minds where we're at on our tax rate. We've gotten our preliminary values. We got those, I think, back in, I think, April 25th. They ended up sending those to us, and I've got a slide here to do that. But just to start thinking about that, this is just a history, so you understand. You might see a couple of these slides again in my budget presentations when we're closing out and we're deciding on things. But just so you have it and you can start thinking about this, and we'll send this to you so that you have it as well. Just so you remember the voter approval tax rate. So this allows a taxing unit to raise the same amount for operations as the prior year, plus provides for an additional 3.5%. This only includes the operation portion. If you remember, the debt portion, or what we call the INS portion, cannot be moved in any way. Whatever our debt payments are, we have to pay that debt. We can't take from that side of the tax rate. And then the debt service portion of the overall rate can rise as high as necessary. You just can't lower it. So if we wanted to pay more on our debt, then obviously we could do that as well. That would be a council decision to do that. And then the taxpayers may petition for a voter approval tax rate if the city proposes an increase over the voter approval rate, which we won't have that until later, which we've never gone since I've been here or working in any city where we've gone over the voter approval rate. If you'll remember back then, that 3.5% used to be 8%, but they changed that, was that like 4 years ago now? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so when it went before the legislation, they dropped it from an 8% increase down to 3.5% increase, which we've been doing just fine. So we've been in we've been in a good shape. And the voter approval tax rate used to be called the rollback rate. Okay, so that's what it used to be called for those that remember. They changed that 2 years ago too. The no new revenue tax rate, which is a mouthful, I know, which formerly was the effective rate. This is a calculation based on new valuations that gives the city the exact dollars in revenues as generated in the previous year, excluding new. So basically, it's the tax rate you'd pass to collect the same tax revenue, which I apologize, I forgot to change the years here, using this year's appraised values. I didn't update it because we don't have our certified values yet. And so basically, excluding anything new, then this is the same tax rate you would use. Let's see, there is some posting requirements down there at the bottom with truth in taxation, that if the proposed tax rate is equal to or less than the no new revenue rate, then no action is required. So if you adopt a tax rate that's at the no new revenue rate or lower, there's nothing required. If you propose a rate that's higher than the no new revenue rate, then there's some notices and public hearings that are required, which we go through that process every year. And here's the elements of a property tax. So I talk about the operations and maintenance. You can call it O&M or you can call it M&O. It's interchangeable. I don't think anybody cares which order it goes in, but that's just basically what we operate on. So that pays our salaries, our street maintenance, our equipment, and things like that. And then your interest and sinking is your debt payments for general government. So this doesn't include anything utility. So no water and sewer debt is paid out of that INS rate. Now we do have some things that are funded in the past that included water and included general funds. So you do have some of that. But your total tax rate is going to include both of those, and so you'll see those numbers broken down when we get further into the budget process. And then here's the seesaw effect of your appraised values, and your no new revenue rate. So as your appraised values go up, then your no new revenue rate goes down. So you're going to make the same amount of revenues. If your APV goes down, which it has not gone down since I've been here, then your no new revenue rate can go up. So ultimately, what you want to do down in that bottom one is balance out the appraised values, your appraised property values, and your no new revenue rate. So that's kind of what you're striving to do. Obviously, when your appraised values go up pretty high, then you have to consider where your no new revenue rate is, and then what your tax rate wants to be. So it just kind of gives you an idea there. Here's our ad valorem tax rate history per 100 valuation. So you'll see since 2009, sorry, it's a little difficult, and then based on last year. So obviously there for a stretch about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, it kind of stayed steady, and then it started dropping at a pretty rapid rate. There was 1 year down at the bottom, you'll see the tax rate history there and the percentage change. So in fiscal year 18 and 19, that's when we actually went below the no new revenue rate, or the we called it the effective rate at that time. So we were 1% below that effective rate, which was really good. So on the city taxes, people didn't see any increases in their city taxes. And then 1920, we were about 7% over our no new revenue rate. And then last year we were about 2% over our no new revenue rate. So that just kind of gives you an idea of where we've been as far as tax rate. And then I think this, you can't hear, we can't hear you.
During that period of time, I think it's important to note that the city council or the city absorbed 2 tax increases. One of them was for a $12.6 million bond that was proposed to raise the tax rate 6.2 cents.
Yeah.
And that year we absorbed that into the tax, so we didn't raise taxes even though citizens approved it.
Right.
And another year we did it for about 3.5. So there's about 9 or 10 cents of tax rate that is not shown in there that was absorbed by previous city councils.
Yeah, that's correct. And those were for bond sales for road projects.
Right.
For
right,
Wellington
right. That's
and
right.
Stonewall and
north
Sale.
side of Stonewall,
Stonewall.
and then Stonewall and the other side of Stonewall and South
Wellington
Street.
and whatever.
Yeah,
So-
Wellington and all that. So that, yeah, that was able to do that.
So overall, you could net that out around 20 cents.
Yeah.
So when people talk to you about our tax rate, well, let's get a little credit for that. Hard work.
And then here's our tax assessed values. So obviously the tax rate was going down because our assessed values were going up, obviously. So that gives you about a 5-year history there of our assessed values. You'll see at the bottom there, you know, I think the highest one at one point was 5%. And that's a change in our preliminary values to our certified values, which they always tell us it's going to be in the 3 to 5% range due to appeals, and any kind of changes or updates that they make. It's mainly appeals. And so last year, actually, in 21-22, the preliminary values changed substantially and actually did meet the 5%. Previous, it was like 3 or 4%. But there was, I think, a lot more appeals last year. And I think they're also planning for a lot of appeals this year as well, because preliminary values are a little over $3 billion right there. And on my quick math that I just did, taking out the 5%, less the 5%, that still puts us up about 12.77%. So preliminarily, we're about 12% over our appraised values from the previous year.
What percentage of that is new property, do you know, or what number of that, what part of that is new property?
Yeah, preliminarily, let's see. Let me get there.
New property value.
Yeah,
200 or 300 million?
New taxable value, 110,027,000. So it's quite a, oh, I messed that up. So it's quite a bit of new value than previous years. And this also, you'll see on our preliminary totals as well, it also breaks out the freeze portion of it, which we hadn't had that before since we implemented the freeze. So this is the first tax year that we actually see it on our values. So we've got that as well.
When you say new property values, does that mean property that was not on the tax roll before, or does that mean improvements to the property?
New property.
Not on.
Okay.
New taxable, so it wasn't taxable in the
But I'm
previous years.
surprised at 110 million. I thought it had been like 200 million in past years.
I'll have to look at the past ones. I don't have those numbers.
But that's an official number, or official
preliminary.
estimate.
Yeah, it's preliminary.
Yeah, okay.
It's not, it's unofficially unofficial.
It's like the weather.
Yeah, yes, like the weather, exactly. So we should get our certified values. They're going through the appeal process right now, so they're required to give us our certified values, I believe, July 25th, yeah, but Brent South and his group, they do a good job of getting it to us probably the week before, so we'll see that the week before. And so once we do get that final number, then GP and I are working through the budget process right now. We've got budget meetings set up at the end of this week and all of next week with our departments, and then once we get through that, we'll kind of have everything set. We'll have an idea of what we want to, as far as pay plans and merit raises, and we'll have all that plugged in. And then once we get that preliminary number, then we plug it in, or that certified, from the preliminary number to the certified numbers, we plug that in, and then we go from there, say, hey, can we do this or that? And then that's where we work and finally get our proposed to get to you guys by the first meeting in August. So you guys will get that the first meeting in August, and then we'll that'll give you guys about a month to review anything new that's in there, and we'll go through that process. So that's kind of our timeline that we're on right now.
Have you figured out a preliminary no new revenue rate?
Say again?
Have you figured out a preliminary no new revenue rate?
No, not yet. No, we haven't.
Because it looks like you should be down around 55 or 54.
Probably, yeah, when you look at, let's see. Yeah, when you're looking at that, you know, we figured I was going to probably average that out. You know, with appeals this year, I don't know, with them being up 13. I mean, because typically in the past, our appraisals would go up between probably about 6%. And now we're almost double that. So it's like, you know, what do you know, we're probably going to average out the last 5 years, maybe look at that 7% number and see there, and then go from there and kind of propose a tax rate from there. But no, we don't have a preliminary one just yet.
Hey.
Well, that takes a graduate degree in mathematics to figure that. That takes a graduate degree in mathematics to figure that
That's
out.
why I'm going to have GP do
wag.
it. So.
It's a wag.
So, any questions? And please, if there's anything along the way, email, or don't just wait till a council meeting, because we, you know, the more input we can have, like I said, we're going through that budget process right now. And so if there's any suggestions, then go ahead and, you know, GP's gotten all the revenue estimates done. Forecasting, obviously we can't, you know, we've only have 6 months of data, so we can't forecast based on a whole year's worth of data, but he's got a system in place that he's able to forecast those. So if there's anything that you guys, you know, want to see in there or anything like that, then certainly bring that up before August, preferably. But we can take it in August too. So, but it would be nice to have some time to be able to do that, and be able to propose that, guys, and what, you know, something that you guys that matches up with y'all's goals. So that's our whole intent.
Okay, any other questions for Summer? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this point, I think we're going to go into executive session. We'll take about a 5-minute break, but as I understand it, Carol, we're still going to have the executive session in the ballroom. No, we're able to go into the other room? Okay, so we'll be going into executive session. We'll return at 6 o'clock for the regular session.
He, Mark Hutchins, who led the charge, Commissioner Mark Hutchins, and all of our commissioners at the Commissioners Court this morning voted to put a senior 65 and over homestead tax freeze and disabled on the November ballot to be voted on by the people. This means that all of us 65 and over will not be out in the heat this summer like we were a year or two ago having to do petitions. They did it for us. And I greatly appreciate them listening to the people. And I also greatly appreciate them putting this on the ballot to let the people of Hunt County decide, do they want to do this or not. So again, I hope y'all watch this. Again, we had to beg, plead, and then finally did a petition with the city to get this same action done to freeze the city taxes. So again, I want to compliment the county on what they've done. I also want to compliment Judge Bench, again, for being fiscally responsible year after year. They have done the no new revenue tax rate, used to be called the effective tax rate, for the last 2 budget sessions for the county. Brent South, our chief appraiser, Hunt County Tax Appraisal District, has been making presentations. I went to the landmark again last night. It's good enough I've gone several times to hear him. He explains the no new tax rate, or the no new revenue tax rate. He also discusses how tax rates set by entities, that's what determines the payments that the people have to make. As Mr. South said last night, if he cut everybody's appraisal, the market value, in half, that doesn't lower the amount that the people have to pay. The rate that you as a body set and the school district set and the county sets is what determines the actual payments the people have to make. I've talked to Mr. South again this afternoon and told him I would recommend tonight that this council, I'd also recommend that Greenville ISD, same thing, hire Mr. South or ask him to come on his own and do an in-service for all of the commissioners in town, for all of the board members and all of the council members, so that you understand properly how the rate, the appraised value, and all that mixes together and comes out into what the people owe. We've got 14 seconds left, and I want to say a couple of you, there's a couple of you, I can't mention names, did support us on that tax freeze. You never could get the third person to even get the council to look at it. So again, thanks to the county commissioners and Judge Stovall, and again, I hope this body and the school district gets with Mr. South and learns what that NNR stands for and how it works. Thank you very much.
I'm Richard Bench. I live at 6720 Wren,
Could you
Greenville, Texas.
get a little closer to the mic, please? Thank you.
Richard Bench. I live at 6720 Wren, Greenville, Texas, 75402. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, City Manager, I'm a longtime resident of Greenville, born and raised here. I'm also a retiree from the city of Greenville. In 2017, I addressed the council in reference to the cost of living adjustment for the TMRS Greenville retirees. It's now 2022, the Greenville retirees still have not received a cost of living adjustment. It's my understanding, I wasn't in the meeting, but the last cost of living adjustment for Greenville retirees was in 2009. And the council said at that time they would give a cost of living adjustment every couple of years. Some TMRS cities still have a yearly cost of living adjustment for the retirees. Since 2009, the city of Greenville's contribution rate has declined nearly every year due to stopping the city of Greenville's TMRS retiree authorized cost of living increases. This has probably saved the city of Greenville and the Greenville Electric Utility Services several $1 million. However, the Greenville retirees have lost a needed benefit. We all know that everything's going up with inflation right now, and some of our retirees are on fixed income. I've heard, probably like y'all have, of the excess COVID funds that the federal government says municipalities can use any way they want to. Some places are giving citizens money, some of the cities are using them for salaries and bonuses, working on the swimming pools, golf courses, whatever. That's taxpayer money. That's our money. That would be one great source for the council to consider for TMRS retirees. I believe there are several other retirees here tonight from different departments. If they disagree with what I said, we'll discuss it later. If you agree with what I said and support the TMRS cost of living adjustment, would you raise your hand? Or stand up, either one.
Yeah, you can stand if you'd like.
To help the city of Greenville attract and retain city employees, I believe the city of Greenville needs to show applicants and current city employees that retirees will be treated fairly. The city of Greenville needs to do the right thing and grant a cost of living adjustment to the TMRS retirees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bench. No other, okay. Okay, there are no other citizens to be heard. We'll move into ordinances. Item 7A, consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing a 6-month extension to the economic development agreement between the City of Greenville and Greenville Retail Center, LLC. Mr. Ray.
All right, this is similar to the extension we did about a year ago in April of 2021 that was related to a request that came in from what's commonly called the Steinbach development. It's 110 acres between, well, north of I-30 and west of the Academy parking lot. At this point, 2 meetings ago, there was a discussion of this and an offer made back to them in response to some proposed changes to that contract, and the offer was for a 6-month extension. They've approved that, and so that's what's in front of you tonight. The other items related to changing parts of the contract will definitely come back in the next 6 months, but the only thing that's in front of you tonight is to change the trigger date for the beginning of the entertainment anchor to 6 months from May 21st of this year to later in the year.
Okay, are there any questions?
Daniel, just to be clear, the entertainment anchor is still Cinemark Theater.
Yes, that's correct. Entertainment anchor is defined specifically as a Cinemark Theater, so that part of the contract has not changed and won't change without council action.
Any other questions? If not, what is the pleasure of the council regarding this item? For a second?
Second.
Motion second, please vote. And it passes 6-0 with an abstention, not an abstention. Tim Cruz isn't here tonight, absent, I'm sorry. Okay, item 7B, consideration and action on an ordinance approving an annual contract with ASPCO for water and sewer supplies. Press.
Thank you. With this supply chain issue, we've been running into problems trying to get parts and pieces and meters and everything. We have Core Main under contract now, and what we found out, this other company, ABSCO, we were able to get some parts that we needed from them that we couldn't get from Core Main. So I got with GP, and he agreed that we needed to put them under contract as an annual contract. That gives us 2 supply houses to get the parts we need for the water and sewer departments to function.
Okay. Any questions for press regarding this issue? If not, is there any public testimony regarding this issue? No. Okay. What is the pleasure of the council?
Move to approve.
I second.
And second, please vote. Okay, and it passes 6-0. Consideration, item 7C, consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing a construction contract with Belt Construction of Texas, LLC for the Roy Warren Parkway extension.
Yes, sir. This is the sanitary sewer trunk line that we're running from Roy Warren going back towards the 1570 lift station, tying into that trunk line coming out of there. We put it out to bid. The bids came in a little bit over our original budget, but they came in at $4.3 million. And we're asking permission tonight to enter in that contract so we can get that going in conjunction with the road construction at the same time.
Okay. Any questions, council.
Do we have any, this was the only bid, right?
Yes, sir, it was.
Do we have any idea why nobody else bid?
The word I got, some of them were scared of it because some of the sewer line is 35 feet deep. They didn't want to commit to it. This company kind of specializes in deep sewer expansion, so we checked on them, and they're a good, reputable company. So we were comfortable with their bid.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Chris, the construction part of that, is that still on schedule?
Yes, sir.
It is, okay.
Yeah. Everything, we're on schedule. The road contract has been let. That contractor's been mobilizing, getting things ready for it. There's one manhole on Roy Warren, and this takes off from that and goes towards our big treatment lift station on 1570. So everything is on schedule right now.
I had promised that fellow, you and I were talking back and forth, that lives out in that area.
Right.
Update on that, so thank you.
Yes, sir.
And what is the estimated completion date for that project?
The contract is 425 days. We hope to have it done sooner than that, but a lot of it's weather dependent because the depth and the type of soils we're going to run into. We're hoping we don't have any problems with that, but the road contract and the sewer contract are both 425 days, so they will marry up on each other so we can get them completed.
Okay, I can't seem to do the math on that, but you're talking about the end of 2023 perhaps?
Yes, sir.
Like that. Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, what is the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second, please vote. And it passes 6-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chris. Resolutions, consider item 8A on the agenda, consideration action on a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract between the City of Greenville and the Greenville Independent School District.
Mayor and
Chief
Council,
Cole.
we were, sorry?
Yes.
Mayor and Council, we were recently approached by the school district about the use of our canines to do drug sweeps within 4 different schools. We have prepared a contract for your consideration. We would receive a revenue of $500 a month, which will offset the cost of our canine program. And GP is going to set up an account where that fund will be stored, so it was going to help us with not only the cost of maintenance of canines, but also in the future purchases.
Are there any questions? Chief Cole? No questions? Being no questions. Okay, what's
Public testimony.
Is there public testimony? No public testimony, she said.
Move to approve.
Huh?
Move to
Okay.
approve.
Is there a second? Please vote. Passes 6-0. Consideration in items 8B, consideration and action on a resolution accepting a library grant from the F.L. Young Foundation. Mr. Hayden, how are you tonight? Good.
We were excited. We recently received a grant from the F.L. Young Foundation for $15,000, and out of that grant we'll be getting robotics, STEM kits, some maker spaces the project was called Empowering Lives, and that's really about building relationships with our community and enriching and empowering lives. So I'm really just asking if we're respectfully asking and requesting that you accept that grant for $15,000. I think it's going to be a great thing for our community and especially for our young people and for adults as well. So.
Very good. Any questions? And I think you applied for this grant yourself.
I did apply
and
for
you and
this
your
grant.
staff?
Yeah, I applied for the grant. It's a non-matching grant, and the only thing we have to do is, there's no stipulations. All we have to do is do a report and when we get it completed.
Okay.
So.
Great, good work.
Yes. Okay. If there are no questions, is there public testimony? No public testimony.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion? Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Please vote. Passes 6-1. Pardon me? 6-0. I'm sorry. Consideration action on a resolution accepting a library grant from the Texas State Library and Archives Commission.
Yeah, at the same time I applied for this grant, both grants had to be applied for before a certain time. And like when I first got here, they had to be done by March 31st. So I didn't know what grant we were going to get, and this grant is a reimbursement grant, and I know GP, I've already talked to him about it as well, for $9,963. We will be getting a 3D printer with that grant to be able to have a 3D printer at the library. I think that's pretty cool thing. And also be able to get like an iPad and some laptops. It was a CAP grant, which is a community investment package. The TSLAC had the IMLS from federal grant gave them about $750,000 to spread that out to libraries, be able to do these things for our communities. And so I think it's a great one. It's a teen package, and the other one's an audio-visual package. And so the teens, we're going to be doing those programs. Audio-visual will be getting like a 65-inch screen TV and some things like that, cords and that kind of stuff that goes with that. So it's a great opportunity to have that grant as well. So I, again, request that you accept that grant as well. Sorry.
Thank you.
Any questions about that? It's just, okay.
Public testimony? Okay. Is there a motion from the council?
Move to approve.
I second.
Motion is second. Please vote. And it passes.
Thank you very much.
6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank
That's, how long have you been here?
2 months.
And you already got 2 grants for us in that
Yes.
short period of time. Congratulations.
I'm going to
That's
say he's
really
off
good
and
work.
running.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much. Thank
Really
you.
good. Thank you. Okay. Resolution 8D, consideration and action on a resolution for appointments to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Is there a motion regarding this issue?
Hopefully I get the name right. Right. I make a motion that we appoint Josh Furnish to that position on the advisory board, Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
I'll do them separately. Yes.
Ben.
Okay, and it passes 6-0. Item 8E, consideration and action on a resolution for appointments to the Library Advisory Board. Would someone be interested in recommending Rachel Lewis for that?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we appoint Rachel Lewis to the Library Advisory Board.
Okay.
Second?
Motion is second. Please vote. Okay. And that resolution passes 8-1. Resolution 8F, consideration action on a resolution for appointments to the Main Street Advisory Board. Would someone be willing to appoint Deanne Bates and Arlene McCroskey?
I move that we appoint Deanne Bates and Arlene McCroskey
Second?
Thank you.
to the Main Street Advisory Board.
I'll second.
Hope I wasn't leading the witness there. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote. And it passes 6-0. I'd like to ask the city secretary to read us the consent calendar. Okay. Is there any public testimony regarding these issues? Are there any questions from the council regarding either of these issues? Not, is there a motion to accept the consent calendar? There's a motion, please vote.
Second.
Second. There's a second. Motion is second. Please vote. There were 2 seconds. Did you get that? Anyway, it's fine. Okay, city staff, city council reports. There are none. City council discussion of proposed agenda items. Is there none there? Not. You have before you the boards and commission minutes for the substandard structure board minutes on February the 7th. We will not have an executive session tonight, so this meeting is adjourned.
Wow. Yay.
You know, 10 years ago, they routinely went till almost midnight. 10 years ago, these used to go till almost midnight.